Hello, good morning. You're watching Breakfast News from BBC Spotlight. In a moment, the travel, the tides and the weather. We'll see if that good weather is continuing. But first, here's a look at today's news. Around 40 firefighters have been tackling a fire at a storage building at Blackpool China Clayworks in St Austell overnight. Jets and pumps were used to put out the flames, but because the building was so unstable, it's been completely destroyed. Firefighters say the cause of the fire is suspicious and an investigation will begin later this morning. Meanwhile, a team of professionals has been put together to make sure Cornwall Fire Brigade improves after its poor rating from the Audit Commission. The county's emergency planning manager will be among the five-strong team. They're tasked with identifying where the weaknesses are and working out ways of improving performance. Spotlight has learned Devon County Council is to increase its funding for domestic violence services by nearly £400,000. The council says it's to avoid redundancies at a time when incidents could potentially increase due to the recession raising stress levels. An influential group of MPs will be in Devon today on a fact-finding mission to explore how local post offices can remain viable. Local people are invited to give their views at a public meeting in Exeter this afternoon. Devon has seen more than 70 of its post offices closed as part of a nationwide restructuring of the network. We'll look at the travel now, and on the A375 at Honiton, the temporary lights there are stuck on red. That's in both directions, and it's on the Honiton to Sidmouth Road. On the A386, there is single file traffic on Plymouth Road in Tavistock, and in Cornwall on the A3074, there are four-way lights on St Ives Road at Carbis Bay. Right then, well, I'm wearing yellow, like the sun, which is currently out at the moment.
Yes, so you brought the sunshine back from your holiday, Amy. Thanks very much for that. Hello, good morning. It's an absolutely beautiful start to the day, blue sky and sunshine. If you haven't left the house yet, though, do be warned, it's still quite chilly. We did have a touch of frost overnight, but it should remain fine and sunny for the rest of this morning. And there is a weather front across the UK. It's just a line of cloud, really. That's not going to affect us for today, though we will see that move down the country overnight tonight. But for this morning, there is some patchy mist and fog in places as well, but that should soon start to clear with that sunshine. The remaining fine and sunny through today and into this afternoon. Now, the best of the temperatures will be towards the north coast, maybe up to 15, maybe even 17 degrees in places. Probably feeling a little bit cooler along the south coast as that easterly wind picks up later on today. Over on the Channel Islands here too, plenty of sunshine through today and feeling pleasantly warm in any sheltered spots. Times of night high water for today around the southwest, up at Bideford at 9:24 this morning and at Plymouth at 2 minutes past 9 this morning. Now for tonight, we will see that cloud come down, so some patchy cloud overnight, so it may still get a little bit cold, but not quite so cold under the cloud, and again some patchy mist or fog. So some clouds to start the day tomorrow, but also again some sunny spells, some more sunshine on Thursday, again sunny spells on Friday, though it will feel a little bit cooler towards the end of the week. Back to you.
Emily, thank you. I can't wait for the sun to come up now. It's a bit chilly in here. We'll both be back just before 8 o'clock with more news, weather and travel. So join us then. Bye for now.
Hello, good morning. You're watching Breakfast with Bill Turnbull and Kate Silverton.
Our main story this morning, students in England and Wales could soon be paying a lot more for a university education.
A BBC News survey has found that most Vice-Chancellors want to charge at least £5,000 a year in tuition fees for their courses. That's a substantial rise on the current maximum of just over £3,000 a year.
Many people with dementia are not getting the care they need, according to a new report out this morning. It says there needs to be better access to specialist units and improved training for staff. 6,000 care homes were questioned for the report.
Josef Fritzl, the Austrian man accused of locking up and repeatedly raping his daughter over a 24-year period, will face further questions in court today. The jury has begun watching 11 hours of taped testimony by his daughter. Fritzl has admitted incest and false imprisonment, but has pleaded not guilty to enslavement and murder.
Gordon Brown's calling on Iran to join a new international effort to tackle climate change by expanding nuclear energy. But the Prime Minister will tell a meeting in London today Tehran will only receive support if it agrees to stringent controls to ensure it does not develop nuclear weapons.
Budget airlines like EasyJet and Ryanair are among the slowest to get lost luggage back to its owner, according to a new survey. The Air Transport Users Council found the no-frills carriers also made it difficult for people to then get compensation. Airlines lost over 1 million pieces of luggage at UK airports in 2007. That meant around one passenger in every 2,000 lost their bag.
Those are the main stories this morning. Coming up a little bit later this morning, are you thinking of renting your home out because you can't sell it? Well, there are pitfalls to avoid, We'll find out what they are and how to avoid them from the property expert, Sarah Bean.
Now, sport, and it's very much go the girls.
I thought
Good
I'd wear a
morning,
name tag this time.
Mike. Do you think Bill needs reminding that...
Understandably, because it is Tuesday and Chris is normally here. And an hour ago, you nearly said...
It was only a near miss. I didn't get it entirely
but,
wrong.
you know, it's like your first day at a new school.
I thought, or you might tell me, I hadn't put my mic on again.
Oh,
because that
oh, very
happened too.
good indeed.
You're going to have to wear a little label, you see, when you come. My name is Mike.
I don't mind being compared to
Yeah,
the great
just wear a
Mr.
T-shirt, then it's...
Yes, to go get the hair dyed.
Anyway, listen, back to the girls, because
I
more
think we should talk
importantly...
real power, shouldn't
Yes.
we? Fantastic achievement.
Yeah.
First of all, in the pool, we'll be talking about Rebecca Adlington coming second, only just to her best mate in a moment, but both breaking the world record. But first, England's women this morning have reached the World Cup final in the Women's Cricket World Cup, doing what the men haven't done. They've beaten the West Indies, and so they go through to the final on Sunday. Possibly, we think, New Zealand, because England have a say at what happens to Australia. Australia could get to the final, but in their final Super 6 game, England play Australia and could see them off, knock them out. Well, let's talk swimming now, because when you're a household name at just 19, you've stunned the world of sport with 2 gold medals. I suppose it is going to be tough coping with all the attention, all that raised pressure and expectation. Well, Rebecca Adlington has been back in the pool at the British Championships. She was beaten by one of her best friends, Joanne Jackson, who set a new world record in the women's 400 metres freestyle. Now, Jackson broke the record held by the Italian, Federica Pellegrini, by 0.23 of a second. But the 2 best mates, look at this, they're neck and neck, aren't they, with Adlington also coming home under the previous world record time. What's more, Adlington reckons she's around 2 weeks behind in her training due to a recent stomach upset, and so was only 85% fit. So still a great swim. Now, it means Jackson automatically qualifies for the World Championships in Rome, with Adlington having to wait to confirm her place in the team. Look at them together. Delighted the double Olympic champion was pleased to be back, doing what she loves the most, and is still hungry for more success.
It's never been a question of my motivation. I've always been motivated. It's just a question of how to deal with it. I'm a just turned 20-year-old girl, and to deal with the amount of pressure and expectation on me has been harder than I've ever thought. No one can train you for that, not even my mum and dad, so I've just had to deal with it as best I can, and hopefully that race showed that I have. I've just dealt with it quite well.
Certainly to Rebecca. Now, Andy Murray has shrugged off the effects of his own recent virus to march into the 4th round of the Masters 1000 event. That's at Indian Wells in California. These Masters events are just one below the Grand Slam level, and he won 2 of them last year, remember. Murray was up against the Frenchman, Paul-Henri Mathieu, and after taking the first set 6-3, he broke his opponent in the second set. Watch this, a delightful lob all the way over and in on the back of the court. Murray went on to win the set 6-2 to close out the match, and he'll next play Tommy Robredo. But guess who? Yes, Rafael Nadal and Roger Federer should be Murray's main threats this week as he gets over his virus.
Physically, you know, it's obviously 3 sets, so I'd hope that I'd be able to get through the matches. Just have to see how the recovery goes, you know, and also it's not so much just about the fitness, you know, it's more, you know, the guys I'm playing, you know, now and later on in the tournament are going to get tougher and tougher, and it's just, you know, what are my games at, you know, at the highest level.
Now, the former super middleweight world champion Joe Calzaghe has won his high court battle over money with his ex-manager and promoter Frank Warren. Calzaghe, who retired unbeaten last month, claimed he was owed £2 million in unpaid fees. Warren claimed the Welshman owed him £1 million for breaking a verbal contract for one more fight. Well, Mr. Justice Wynne Williams dismissed Warren's claim and ruled he should pay Calzaghe around £2 million. Warren said he intended to appeal against the amount he owes Calzaghe. Now, football, we can still stay up. That was the upbeat message from the West Bromwich Albion manager Tony Mowbray after a goalless draw at Upton Park last night against West Ham United. Bottom of the table Baggies, who are now without a league win in 7 games, came so close here. Dutch defender Shelton Martis hitting the bar in the second half. You just need those to go in, don't you, when you're at the bottom. And all round, the Baggies had the better chances in this game, but they find themselves still 6 points from safety. As for West Ham, well, they had an off day in front of goal, but they are still in the hunt for a European place, lying 7th in the table. Now, England are now confirmed bidders to host the Football World Cup in either 2018 or indeed 2022. FIFA's deadline closed yesterday with the likes of Australia, Qatar and the United States all interested. Well, the revamped Wembley Stadium would play a big part in the tournament if England were successful. But just last week, the FA were inspecting places like Bristol and Nottingham as prospective host cities. A decision, though, we have to wait for this, on the destination of both tournaments because it won't be made until December of next year. The English cricket coach who survived the gun attack in Pakistan earlier on this month has said he is still coming to terms with what happened, but he would like to see Pakistan hosting international cricket in the future. The former Kent batsman, Paul Farbrace, was with the Sri Lanka team as assistant coach when gunmen in Lahore attacked their bus, which was travelling under a police escort. Now, he received a shrapnel wound to his right arm. But now back home, Farbrace said there was no indication that the devastating attack would take place.
Until that morning, I thoroughly enjoyed being in Pakistan. Cricket-wise, it was great, and everything that went with it, I thoroughly enjoyed. Lahore was a great place to be, a very nice place to be, and I had no qualms about being there. I had no qualms about being there. I might take some persuading, and it might take a little bit of time for all of us, I think, but it would be a shame to think that cricket would never be played in Pakistan again.
Finally in the papers, in the Mail, Des Kelly is moaning about another England shirt due to be worn for the first time next Saturday against Slovakia when they come to town. And the headline in his column here, 45 shirts in 43 years. I've got my arm in the way, so let me just take my arm down like that. There's a picture of all the shirts here, the red, white, blue and yellow, worn by Bobby Moore in the picture here. That was in 1973. Yellow brought 2 defeats and a draw, but it's not been seen since. Yeah, you can see it now. So it wasn't seen again. It was put in the loft, I think, after that. The most successful shirts actually were red and blue, funny enough. But obviously it depends on how many games they were worn for. But what will the new colour be? You know that swimming story I was telling you about?
Yeah.
The mystery of an hour ago. We were talking about this Swedish swimmer who broke her own world record, but was then stripped of it in Australia at the Australia Swimming Championships because she was wearing 2 swimsuits. Well, she was only really there as a training exercise, so maybe it ties in with what you were saying, Kate, being good for training because it gives you more resistance. And also, the rule has only just been introduced that you can't wear 2 swimsuits, so maybe she didn't realise. She is appealing. She was there because she's not Australian. She couldn't have got into the final, so she was using this whole championship in Australia as a training exercise. That maybe explains it.
If it actually slows you down, which we kind of think it does, then, you know, what's the...
Well, if you're training, maybe it just builds up...
How fast would you swim if you'd been only wearing
exactly,
one?
begs the question, doesn't it? Therese Alshaman, one of Sweden's top swimmers, disqualified for wearing 2 swimsuits.
Yeah.
Okay.
No advantage, or so it seems. But anyway, OK.
How much is university education worth? That debate will be reopened today by a BBC survey which finds most vice-chancellors want to raise their fees to at least £5,000 a year.
Many students fear that will mean them running up even more debt. Tuition fees have always been an emotive issue, of course. You might remember this young lady, Julia Prague, tackling the then Prime Minister, Tony Blair, on the subject back in 2004.
If we all accept, as we have, and this was the starting point of the programme, that we need to get far more money into university education, we either ask you to make a contribution when you graduate, or we...
It really infuriates me that you say, why should the dustman fund the doctor? When he has a heart attack, he'll be pleased that I went to university and graduated as a doctor, and therefore he should contribute towards the cost of my degree.
Well, that was 5 years ago, and Julia has since qualified as an NHS doctor. She joins us from Worthing this morning. Morning, Julia. With us here in the studio also, Professor Malcolm Grant of University College London. Good morning to you as well.
Good morning.
Malcolm, I'm going to start with you because we read this morning that a lot of universities want to raise tuition fees. One university wants to raise tuition fees to £20,000 a year. I mean, that's just cloud cuckoo land, isn't it?
I would say it was barking mad. The level of tuition fee that came in 2006 was £3,000 a year. And it's not paid as an upfront fee. It's recovered by way of what's effectively a graduate tax after the student has graduated, which cuts in at about £15,000 per annum of income, and also cuts out again if the student becomes unemployed or doesn't earn. So it's not, in that sense, a disincentive to students coming to university and having to put an upfront payment in.
Have the figures borne that out, that it hasn't been a disincentive?
Yes, surprisingly. You know, we've been in this business only for 3 years, and there was a widespread concern that the introduction of tuition fees would deter children from less well-off backgrounds coming to university. All the evidence is that it hasn't done so.
Julia, let's turn to you then. And what do you make of this survey then that shows, you know, most universities want to raise tuition fees, and apparently it doesn't put people off going?
Well, really for 2 things about that, really. I think originally when I was campaigning about fees, one of the things I said was that it was just going to be a gateway to increasing the cap further and further and further, and as it shows, yes, that's run true. I don't believe that it hasn't put people off going to university, and I know that UCAS put out some figures a couple of years ago which showed that actually it had. So I think, you know, anyone who is being asked to take on £15,000, £20,000, £25,000 worth of debt of course it's going to affect them, and of course it's going to influence their decision to go to university, particularly in the current climate when there's no actual graduate training scheme programs out at the moment. They're all being cut back as a result of the recession.
What level of debt did you leave with, Julia, and how are you coping with that now that you're qualified?
I've now got about £25,000 worth of debt, but obviously the cost of going to university was much greater than that. I was lucky in that I was supported by my family as much as they could, and I also had a part-time job where I was able to. So obviously it's a lot more than the 25 grand, but it's going to take me a good 25 years, according to the BMA, to pay that back. The medical students and the dentistry and the veterinary students who do 6-year courses are much harder hit than some of the other degrees. And, you know, it's a big concern. It's a big worry.
Malcolm, it strikes me that you're saying is at the moment we've got a sort of buy now, pay later scheme in terms of university fees, and that doesn't put people off, so it doesn't matter too much. So, but how is it any more fair to have a buy now, pay even more later? Why is it fair to saddle people with so much debt?
I've actually got a great deal of sympathy with what Julia was saying. It's wrong to saddle people with debt. But the critical thing, I think, is how we can afford in this country to give our students the world-class education that they deserve. The taxpayer doesn't want to provide that. Philanthropy isn't providing the answer, as it does in many big US universities. It's appropriate, I think, that students should be invited to, or required to contribute to the cost of their education, particularly if they go on to high-earning professions. Medicine, for example, does produce a very generous income over a lifetime of employment. And it's appropriate, therefore, that those who benefit from a first-class, world-class quality education should make some provision for its cost.
Julia, respond to that.
Well, everyone always talks about how much a doctor gets paid. The sums that people talk about is not really for a very, very long time after graduation. And obviously, for the 6 years that they're at university, they're incurring debt. They can't pay it off because they're not earning. And, you know, at the moment, my basic salary is about £22,000. It's not the £100,000 that everyone thinks it is. I think the other thing is, even though you say it's okay because you don't pay it back until you're earning, for every month that you don't pay it back, you're earning cumulative interest on that loan. And it's not an insignificant sum. So the longer you can't pay it back, the harder you're actually going to be.
And Malcolm, it's a question of what is a fair level to contribute, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think 2 points on that. First of all, interest is not payable at a real rate. It's payable only at the level of inflation, so it's a heavily subsidised debt. But secondly, we're not out there campaigning for higher fees merely to saddle students with debt. And we're not even campaigning for higher fees. What has happened is that the government promised in 2004 that there would be a review after the first 3 years of fees. Universities UK has prepared a report which looks at some different scenarios of fee levels. So the debate has started. What I want to ensure, though, is that we, as a society, grapple with the question of how we maintain world-class universities in this country.
Okay, Professor Malcolm Grant, thanks very much. Julia Prague, thanks very much to you, and all the best with your new career.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thanks.
Right, it is 7:45. Good morning. You're watching Breakfast from BBC News. The main stories this morning, as we've been hearing, a BBC News survey of universities in England and Wales finds most of them want to increase tuition fees to at least £5,000 a year.
And people with dementia need better access to specialist units and better trained staff to help them. That's the message of a new report.
Also coming up in the programme. Wow, that was loud. We'll meet the Jersey Boys, the stars of the smash hit musical about Frankie Valli and the 4 seasons.
Did you say 4 seasons, Kate? You did. You said
Frankie
4
Valli
seasons. In which case, it must be spring. Here's Carol Kirkwood.
I was waiting for some cheesy links there, Billy. Good morning. Well, if you're celebrating St. Patrick's Day today, for many parts of the country, it's going to be fine. There'll be some sunny spells around. However, there is a veil of cloud at the moment sitting across parts of Northern Ireland, Northern England, and also into East Anglia. So that's going to hold the temperatures down a touch. And you can see in the satellite picture where we have the cloud, there's also high cloud around, so some hazy sunshine for some to start the day. And a chilly start where it's broken across Scotland and parts of the south of England. And here, there is a touch of frost in places. Now you can see that cloud I was mentioning. Through the day, it's going to pivot round, and you'll see more of it leave Northern Ireland and more of it push into the west of Scotland. So by 3 o'clock this afternoon, a cloudy scenario in the west of Scotland, but elsewhere there will be other bits and pieces of cloud, but some sunshine. For the northwest of England, across the Pennines, down into the Midlands and East Anglia, we're back into the cloud. Quite a different day for some compared to yesterday when it was so sunny and warm. And that cloud encroaching in the London area too through the afternoon. But move away from that and we're back into the sunshine and just gentle breezes. Now it's worth mentioning, if you are in the breeze, it does feel a little bit nippy this morning, and the best places to catch, say, 17 degrees Celsius today are the likes of at Northwest 7. Southern Wales not doing too badly, the north of Wales seeing more cloud, and as we saw on the satellite picture, the cloud currently across Northern Ireland pushing away during the course of the afternoon, so brightening up from the south. Now, through this evening, once again, we'll have quite a bit of cloud in western areas in particular, but it's going to be a cold night. In fact, cold enough for some of us, again, for a touch of frost, and that could be almost anywhere. So chilly start to the day tomorrow. Still this cloud in some central and western areas, but through the day that's going to thin and break and some sunshine will come through. And tomorrow generally is looking like a fine and a sunny day, with temperatures at best 15 in Aberdeen, 16 in London. High pressure still with us on Thursday, so things still remaining fine and settled, but if anything by Friday, perhaps for some of us again, a dip in those temperatures. And that's it. Back to you two.
Carol, thanks very much.
Carol. OK, let's turn to Simon now, where we put him on the spot before about paying tax or potentially paying tax if you sell your own personal items on eBay. Have you got an answer for us?
I do have an answer for you, and the answer is it depends. Now, if you're doing... you thought I was going to say. Now, if you're doing a lot of it, for example, if the turnover of what you're buying and selling is over £50,000 a year, then it could qualify as actually you are actually trading. Could be a job, and in which case could have income tax implications, and also you might need to be VAT registered. But in terms of capital gains tax, if you buy something for X and sell it for 2 times X, then probably not if it costs under £6,000. So, for example, stuff out in your garage or out the attic, whatever, no problem at all. But if you're talking about Chippendale furniture or maybe a painting or Rembrandt or something, then that may, and houses, of course, and things like that, will attract capital gains tax. So if it's a big item, maybe. If it's not, it's the usual run-of-the-mill stuff, definitely not. So hopefully that answers the questions. Now, we are talking this morning about estate agents. Now, you might think, with a housing market slump, that the person who deals with complaints about estate agents might be able to put his feet up and relax, but not the case. The Ombudsman for Estate Agents will tell you today that even though house sales have gone down by 60% over the last year, complaints about estate agents have gone down just 3%. And in the lettings market, it's even worse. In fact, complaints have gone up 200%. Now, of those complaints, 65% of them were upheld, and they resulted in payments to people, to complainants, of $385,000 for people who think they've lost out because of dud advice. Well, we've got the Ombudsman for Estate Agents here with us this morning, Chris Hamer. Morning, Christopher. What are the most common types of complaints that you get into your office?
A whole range of issues, actually, ranging from what might be termed minor issues, although, of course, it's not minor to the person that's complaining. An example might be that the agent has agreed to conduct all the viewings of prospective buyers, but doesn't do that and leaves the responsibility to the seller themselves, through to much more serious issues, confusion about the level of fees that are going to be charged, perhaps about a case I've had where an agent has pushed other purchasers aside so that he could purchase the property himself.
I've got a comment here from Patricia who said, estate agent, I was dismissed from my job as an estate agent for being too caring and not bending the truth about properties to get a sale. That's probably the biggest complaint. People aren't very honest. The estate agent doesn't have a great reputation for honesty.
No, they don't, and I imagine that all the viewers looking in today could come up with a good anecdote about estate agents. But the truth is that, in fact, the Property Misdescriptions Act does place a legal responsibility on agents to describe properties properly.
It's the biggest purchase that many of us will make in our lives, and yet to be an estate agent, you don't need any formal training whatsoever. Bill, Kate, even I could be an estate agent.
That's true. There is no one register of all the estate agents operating in the country. There are various qualifications and requirements that the National Association of Estate Agents, for example, put on their members, but it might be that and the industry is interested in doing this itself, some form of licensing, which gives a degree of professionalism, I think, to agents.
Which I think is changing in October. You've got a new scheme coming in, haven't you?
In last October, the Consumer Estate Agents Redress Act required all estate agents to join a redress scheme such as mine.
Okay, thanks very much indeed. And if they want to get in touch with you?
Through my website, www.oea.co.uk, or by phoning my office in Salisbury. The phone number is on the website.
Okay, I'm sure you'll be a busy man. Plenty of complaints. That's the man to complain to. You've got any problems, back to you.
1 minute you're talking about looking like Lee Mead and taking up a singing career. Now you want to be an estate agent. You've got to wake up your mind what you want to do.
I need focus, Bill. That's what I need.
All right.
But thanks for the answer on...
And tax advice too. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the answer on eBay. If you are feeling the pinch, you need to find a way of making a bit of money. Going online might just be the answer. A pair of women's shoes sells every 10 seconds on the web, apparently.
Yeah, and one man's become a millionaire using the internet auction site eBay. Nicola Pearson has met him, and she can tell us more. Morning, Nicola.
Good morning, yes. Well, in a minute we will be meeting the man who went from selling this sort of thing, mobile phone accessories on eBay, to having this huge warehouse and earning £1 million. But first, let's have a look at what sort of things have been changing hands over the past year.
Like millions of others, Emma is finding it hard to make ends meet. So for the past 6 months, she's been spending her lunch hours selling things she no longer needs to supplement her income.
I'm selling a summer dress that I got 2 years ago in sale from Warehouse. A skirt from Primark that I've never worn before, which I've lost the receipts of the sale. And a clutch bag from Allstate that I got in the January sale. If I want to buy that extra pair of shoes or have that extra special night out, then I actually can. So at the moment I'm probably making 250 quid a month extra. So it really is like helping things day to day, so it's good.
A new report suggests that as times get harder, like Emma, more of us are looking through our wardrobes and lofts and selling online. And we're also buying more in online auctions, either second-hand goods or new and unused items with cheaper price tags than the high streets. In the last year, we spent £12 million more on clothes and shoes than in the previous year. An item of women's clothing sells every 3 seconds. We also spent £9 million more on items for our home, and we bought more caravans, pushchairs and men's dancing shoes.
What sort of things do you sell?
Just general clothes that I probably wouldn't wear anymore, just like shoes I've never worn.
People who live in Norwich are the biggest sellers in the UK. They made £17.2 million on eBay in the last year. Savvy sellers in Manchester made the most of the boom in home cooking, selling more woks, baking tins and oven trays than anywhere else. People in Northampton spent the most on bread makers, and over in Wolverhampton they spent the most on DIY products. Cardiff saw a boom in selling leather trousers. The biggest buyers down the road in Bristol. Emma says the extra money is really making a difference, and so now she's actively looking to buy bargains to sell for a profit.
So how do you make $1 million? Well, let's talk to the man who has done just that, Mark Radcliffe. Mark, tell us your story.
Well, about 10 years ago I was working in London for a mobile phone company, quit my job, decided to come back and start something on my own, and built a website selling mobile phone accessories. A few years later we identified that eBay was a big shopping force and we needed to be a part of that, so we opened up an eBay store, and from there we've just grown into what you see today.
And you really have gone from selling everything out of your back garden, out of your home, to having a big warehouse.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
What tips would you give to anyone who wants to follow your example and give it a go?
I suppose, you know, I've worked really hard to get to this stage. There's been a lot of reinvestment along the way. There's been some bad times where we've had some bad luck, but we've had lots of good luck as well. I mean, everybody works hard. It's just, you know, we've had some good luck, and we chose the right market to sell.
And did you ever think that your empire would grow this big from just selling stuff on eBay from your home?
No, not really, no. It was only about a year ago that I realised, when we looked at where we were operating from and the size of the warehouse and how much stock we have, that I thought, oh, wow, you know, I've come quite a long way, because it happens gradually, you don't really notice.
OK, Mark, thank you so much for speaking to us this morning. We will try and get some more top tips from Mark throughout the morning, because I'm sure we all would like to know how to make a bit of extra money.
Yeah. Thank you
All
very
right.
much indeed.
Thanks very
Fairer
much.
than that. Thanks very much.
We've brought up packed lunch. Do you want a packed lunch? Here's yours, I think. Nice healthy sandwich, tomatoes and yogurt.
Okay.
Bottle of water.
That looks healthy.
That's yours. Mine, 2 cheese sticks, packet of crisps, and a very famous chocolate bar.
I might have to confiscate that.
And a bottle of cola. I mean, that's what's happening in some schools, isn't it?
Yes, teachers are checking your children's lunch boxes in some schools to find out whether what they're eating is right for them and confiscating the chocolate until after school is out.
So can I have that back at the end of the programme?
Yeah, if you could.
All right, then. That's a big debate this morning, and you've been sharing your thoughts with us. Keep them coming. We're talking about that at about 20 past 8.
Yeah, are they right to do so or not? Time now to get the news where you are. We'll see you very soon. Bye-bye.
Hello, you're watching Breakfast News from BBC Spotlight. In a moment, the travel, and we'll find out if the good weather is continuing. But first, here's a look at today's news. Spotlight has learned Devon County Council is to increase its funding for domestic violence services by nearly £400,000. The council says it's to avoid redundancies at a time when incidents could potentially increase due to the recession, raising stress levels. Around 40 firefighters have been tackling a fire at a storage building at Blackpool China Clay Works in St Austell overnight. Firefighters say it's been treated as suspicious and an investigation will begin later on this morning. Meanwhile, a team of professionals has been put together to make sure that Cornwall Fire Brigade improves after its poor rating from the Audit Commission. The county's emergency planning manager will be among the 5-strong team. They're tasked with identifying where the weaknesses are and working out ways of improving performances. A planning application for a traveller site in South Brent has been turned down by the parish council. A group of travellers who've been camping by the A38 at South Brent for 2 years want to make the site legal. The application will now go for consideration by the Dartmoor National Park Authority. Around 60 people turned up for a meeting in the village last night. An influential group of MPs will be in Devon today on a fact-finding mission to explore how local post offices can remain viable. Local people are being invited to give their views at a public meeting in Exeter this afternoon. Devon has seen more than 70 of its post offices closed as part of a nationwide restructuring of the network. Well, onto the travel on the A375 at Honiton. The temporary lights there are stuck on red. That's in both directions. And that's on the Honiton to Sidmouth Road. On the A386, there is single-file traffic on Plymouth Road in Tavistock. And in Cornwall, on the A3074, there are 4-way lights on St Ives Road at Carver Space. That could slow your journey down. OK, well, you might be forgiven for thinking that it's rather cold because it's a rather frosty start, but I understand it's really going to warm up, isn't it, Emily?
Yeah, plenty of sunshine ahead of us today. Thanks, Amy. Hello, good morning. Yes, it's an absolutely beautiful start to the day across the southwest. It is still quite chilly, though, as we did have a touch of frost overnight, but it should soon start to warm up, and it should remain fine and sunny for the rest of this morning. Now, there is a weather front across the UK, and that's not really going to affect us for today. It's just a line of cloud, though, that we will see overnight tonight. But for this morning, a lovely start, as I said. There are some patches of mist and fog here and there, but they should soon start to lift with the sunshine, and then lots of sunshine and blue sky this afternoon. Now, temperature-wise, the best of the temperatures will be towards the north coast. Here, 15, maybe even 17 degrees in places. Feeling a little bit cooler for the south coast with a brisk easterly winds. On the Channel Islands here too, plenty of sunshine through today. I'm feeling pleasantly warm in the sun. For tonight, we'll see that cloud come down. Still quite chilly in places though as well. Some more cloud, but also sunny spells for tomorrow. Again, sunny on Thursday and sunny again on Friday. Back to you.
Just all that sun. It's brilliant, isn't it? Right, we'll both be back just before 8:30, so do try to join us then, and I'll have more news, weather and travel. Bye for now.
Good morning, you're watching Breakfast with Bill Turnbull and Kate Silverton.
Is education about to get a lot more expensive?
Universities tell the BBC they want to push tuition fees up to at least £5,000 a year.
Good morning, it's Tuesday, March the 17th.
Also ahead, not enough specialist units, not enough trained staff. A new report reveals the gaps in care for people with dementia.
Fancy picking up a loan while you pick up your stamps? A new campaign launched today wants to turn your local post office into your local bank. I'll have more later.
The man who looks like Simon Jack, Lee Mead, is here later. He's got a new album this morning, and the cast of Jersey Boys who keep winning awards.
Here's our treasure as well, Carol, with the weather.
Thank you, Kate. Good morning. Well, today we're looking at a swathe of cloud across parts of the country. If you're under that, it will hold the temperature down. If you're in the sunshine, you could well see 17 Celsius today. And I'll tell you what the weather's like where you are in about 15 minutes.
Fantastic. Thanks, Carol. Good morning. First, our main story. Students in England and Wales could soon be paying a lot more for a university education.
Yes, a BBC News survey of vice-chancellors shows most of them want to charge at least £5,000 a year in tuition fees for their courses.
Well, that's a substantial increase on the current maximum of just over £3,000.
University tuition fees triggered fierce controversy and one of the biggest backbench revolts the government has ever faced.
The noes to the left, 311.
Now the row is set to reopen.
To be honest, I'm quite shocked, and I think it's a step in the wrong direction.
I don't understand how this is actually going to improve the situation. Instead, I think it will discourage people from going to university.
Graduates are already coming out with debts up to their ears. They're finding it hard to get on the property ladder.
Charging for university was a watershed moment in education history. Now the debate is about raising fees and by how much. A BBC survey found most universities in England and Wales want fees to go up from the current £3,000 a year to £5,000, while almost a quarter want to charge £7,000 or more.
If fees stay the same, we've got to ask the question, what gives? How are we going to be able to run first-class universities with a fixed fee income and with no competitive market between the institutions?
While Scotland has scrapped fees, England, Wales and Northern Ireland will all begin reviews later this year, reigniting the fierce debate over the price of a university education. James Westhead, BBC News.
Many people with dementia are not getting the care they need, according to a report this morning. It says there needs to be better access to specialist units and improved training for staff.
The majority of residents living in care homes have dementia. That's almost 250,000 people in the UK. But today's report suggests that many are not getting the skilled care they need. The survey of 6,000 care homes found that 2/3 of residents with dementia have no access to specialist homes and units, that Wales and Scotland have the lowest proportion of dedicated dementia places, and that of those specialist homes that do exist, 1/3 failed to provide staff with any specific dementia training.
At the moment, there's a chasm between places that are managing to get high-quality dementia care right for the rising numbers of people that they're looking after. In others, they're getting it very badly wrong. What we need to do is understand why is it that some areas are getting it so badly wrong. Often it's because there isn't the leadership with the managers saying we need to sort this out, and also we need to get the professional curricula right.
The government says its dementia strategy will improve the quality of care in homes, but care home providers insist nothing can change while the NHS and local governments starve them of funding by demanding cut-price care. Sophie Hutchinson, BBC News.
Josef Fritzl, the Austrian man accused of locking up and repeatedly raping his daughter for over 24 years, will face further questions in court today. The jury has begun watching 11 hours of taped testimony by his daughter. Fritzl has admitted incest and false imprisonment, but has pleaded not guilty to enslavement and murder.
Gordon Brown's calling on Iran to join a new international effort to tackle climate change by expanding nuclear energy. The Prime Minister, though, will tell a meeting in London today that Tehran will only receive support if it agrees to stringent controls to ensure that it does not develop nuclear weapons.
There's a plan this morning to create a new bank using the post office network. Well, let's get more from Simon at the Stock Exchange. Simon.
Good morning. Yes, there's a campaign being launched today to turn the local post office network into a local banking network serving customers and small businesses across the country. Now, the campaign has the support of MPs, the Federation of Small Business, for example, pensioner groups, and the Communications Workers Union. The idea is that to restore trust in the financial services system, they would use the post office, which a lot of people still trust, and it would also help preserve jobs locally and of course provide jobs across which the Communication Workers Union, for one, think may be under threat. That campaign goes to Westminster later today. We've had a lot of response today on that from viewers. Some people saying, look, we've tried this once before. It was called the Gyro Bank. It didn't work then. Why will it work now? Other people saying, I do trust my post office much more than my local bank and would look forward to that idea. So that going to Westminster today. Have a quick look at the markets. We've just opened and we're down nearly 1%, 3833. Had some gains yesterday, down this morning. So that's it from me. More later.
Thanks, Simon.
Soldiers in Madagascar have stormed one of the palaces of the embattled president. About 100 troops, supported by armoured vehicles, occupied the compound. The president, apparently, though, in another palace, where hundreds of his supporters formed a human shield to try to prevent a further move against him.
Tens of thousands of people will be taking to the streets today to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Parades are taking place around the world to commemorate the patron saint of Ireland. In Chicago, the river, or at least some of it, although Bill reliably informs me that it would all turn a bright shade of emerald green in a show of Irish patriotism. I hope that's environmentally friendly.
Well, I was going to say, would you want to swim in it? I wonder what it is. I'm sure it is. Those are this morning. It's America. Those are this morning's main stories. In a few minutes' time, we'll discuss the advent of the packed lunch police and ask who has the final say over what goes into your child's lunchbox, you or the school.
Now, though, at 7 minutes past 8, when Major Phil Packer was injured in a rocket attack in Iraq just over a year ago, doctors believed he would never walk again.
But he's astonished them because his recovery has gone so well, he's planning to enter the London Marathon next month. He won't be running, but he does hope to walk the course on a pair of crutches. Major Packer's here with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
I mean, it's phenomenal to think that you were injured in February last year, and now you are planning to walk 26 miles. Amazing. I mean, just how, to what do you put down your very speedy recovery?
The medical services that treated me in Iraq and the NHS hospital where I had my spinal surgery, absolutely fantastic. And when I moved to Headley Court, which is the Defence Medical Rehabilitation Centre, I spent a month in, month out over the past 6 or 7 months working on my legs to try and get anything back, which they have done, and it's been quite tremendous. And really I owe it to all the civilian and military doctors and nurses who've looked after me.
Which, and we say it's extraordinary because, as we said there, you weren't expected to walk again, and yet here you are now saying that you are prepping for the London Marathon. You only took your first steps when? Proper steps?
Unaided last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think we've got pictures of you walking on some parallel bars. Was those the first? Here we are.
Yeah.
What was it like at that moment, having been told that you may never walk again, Phil?
It's fantastic. I mean, it was unexpected, and I think when you first get told news like that, you have, quite dark days, and you've got to have hope, and you've got to have something to look forward to in the future. And also, I think that it's important that as an officer within the armed forces, I hope to enthuse other people, and that's what it's really driven me on.
It's a long way from a few steps, though, to 26 miles. Yeah. I mean, and you haven't got that long to before the race itself, anyway. I mean, it's the end of next month, is it?
26th of April, yeah.
Right. Well, are you going to be ready?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Of course you are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and as you say, serving is an inspiration. You keep getting all these offers and challenges now, all sorts of things coming up. Climbing, tell us some of the things you've been offered.
And it started last year when I was in hospital, and I wanted to raise £1 million for Help for Heroes, and I thought the best way to do it would be to hopefully enthuse other people to find out information for other injured service personnel of different sports. And really it started by going to the Paralympic trials and trying a lot of different sports that day. And since then, I rode the Channel about 3 weeks ago with a guy called Al Humphreys, skydived with the Red Devils, sailed, water skied, the Floor London Marathon, who've obviously given me this golden ticket, which is fantastic. And then after that, I fly to the United States to climb El Capitan, which is a mountain in Yosemite.
And in the long term, are you hoping to make a complete recovery to walk unaided?
I'd love to, absolutely. And I want to carry on serving in the armed forces. It's been my life for 16 years, and I absolutely love it.
And they say that's a realistic
I think it's very difficult with spinal injury. Every single spinal injury is very different, and it really depends on your recovery and what does come back. I'm still paralysed around the waist area, the bladder bowel area, so I don't have anything there at all. But the flickers that I've got, we've been working on to try and allow me to do 2 miles per day, which is my consultant who said I've got to be very careful not to damage myself.
Yeah.
After a year of not using my thighs, I've got complete muscle wastage, and it's getting that back. So it's
And you're raising money. You mentioned Help for Heroes, of course, a charity that has done so much, been so instrumental to raise funds for people like you, and especially for Headley Court and rehabilitation. What are the other stories that you're hearing from the guys that are coming back? Because we've heard so much just recently. It was the most senior military psychiatrist admitted yesterday the government's no idea how big a problem it faces in the future of the number of traumatised troops returning from Iraq and Afghanistan who've been not only injured, but the mental impact.
I think that that the service charities, along with the Ministry of Defence, are working together to support injured servicemen coming back, and I think it's a joint effort. I think they're very aware of the situation, and everybody comes back gets the best support possible. I think that obviously, just by watching the news over the last few days, it's devastating to see, you know, soldiers that are killed there and people that are coming back. But it's a realistic part of war, and it's something that I've seen firsthand that the Ministry of Defence are very aware of and give what I believe is to be the very best support to us.
Yeah.
Well, we wish you all the very best with London Marathon. Of course, it's going to take you slightly longer than the average.
It will.
How long?
It's going to take me 13 days. Start on the 26th of April, finish on the 9th of May.
So you walk for a day, mark the spot, go away and sleep and come back?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think we should come and keep you company at some stage.
And it kind of breaks down that, you know, obviously what I'm trying to do is raise £1 million, and I've got a website called www.philpacker.com, and really the support I'm asking for, I think, from the public is to get behind it, because I'm trying to really support people that are in a far worse situation than I am with injuries, and it's the support of the public, really, that's going to get me to that £1 million.
All right.
Yeah. All the very best.
Yes,
and we look forward to seeing you at the end when you come in and tell us how you've been getting on. Really
Delighted
good to see you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks very much.
Thanks very much indeed.
It's coming up to 30 minutes past 8, and still to come on the programme this morning.
I wore my coat with golden lining.
Now, is that Simon Jack, or is it the Joseph Winner Lee Mead? Of course it's him. Telling us why he's hung up his coat of many colours and he's got a vibrant new album out.
I can see the similarity. The voice of woman's hour, Jenny Murray, is here to tell us how she escaped the confines of a 1950s childhood to become the archetypal career woman.
And more of us than ever are buying and selling online. Later on in the programme, we'll be speaking to the man who has made $1 million by selling all this sort of stuff.
So what do we bid for a nice sunny and hopefully, well, sunny forecast in both senses of the word? Yes. Morning, Carol.
Well, it's not looking too bad for some of us, Bill, this morning. There are sunny spells certainly in the forecast. Some of us already have them, but where we've had a clear sky overnight does mean that it's a cold and a frosty start to the day, so notably across parts of Scotland and also the south of England. And that's where we'll have the sunny spells first thing, of course. We do have a fair bit of cloud across the central swathe of the country. Now, that covers Northern Ireland, across the northwest of England, northwest of Wales, into the Midlands and East Anglia. And we've got high cloud elsewhere, so some milky sunshine first thing. And you can see where the best of the brightness is going to be first thing and into the early part of the afternoon in southern areas and also across the east of Scotland. Now watch that cloud because it starts to pivot round, moving away from Northern Ireland and into western Scotland by the afternoon. But still some sunshine to enjoy in central and eastern parts of Scotland, central and eastern parts of the north of England. The west seeing that thicker cloud, and that extends right the way into East Anglia and eventually into Kent and the London area and the home counties. So quite a different day here compared to yesterday, not quite as mild. As we push down into the southwest of England, we're back into the sunshine. Now it's places like northwest Devon that could well see 17 Celsius, 63 Fahrenheit today, and 15 or 16 from Bath, Bristol into Cardiff, Pembrokeshire. Again, we're back into that sun. For Northern Ireland, it's improving from the south as we go through the course of the afternoon with that cloud melting away. Now through this evening and overnight, again we'll have quite a bit of cloud in some western areas, but it's going to be cold enough across many parts of the country for a touch of ground frost, and you can see that 3s and 4s across the board more or less, and also some patchy mist and some patchy fog, but that shouldn't present a problem tomorrow morning. You can see where we'll have the cloud, but through the day the cloud is likely again to thin and to break. There'll be some hazy sunshine or brilliant blue skies depending upon where you are, and temperatures peaking at 16 Celsius, that's 61 Fahrenheit. Thursday is also looking pretty promising with high pressure still centred across us. By Friday, though, some of us will notice a little drop in temperature, but nothing too significant. That's it. Back to you two.
Carol, thanks
you,
very much.
Carol. Now, if you're having trouble selling your house at the moment, you may well be considering renting it out instead.
Yeah, it's a growing trend, but do you really understand all the legal obligations of becoming a landlord? According to the property website Gumtree, many of us don't. Let's talk to Sarah Beanie, presenter of Channel 4's Property Ladder, who doubtless does. Good morning. Well, I hope you do, because you're here to talk about it this morning.
Yes. Good morning.
Yeah, I mean, people think, right, oh, that'd be good, but there are a lot of responsibilities, aren't there?
There are responsibilities, and I also think it's not as... I think sometimes people underestimate just how easy it is, and there's people who... There is a perception of value around at the moment, which is not necessarily helpful, where people think, well, I can buy that house at a reduced rate because the market is as it is, but I don't want to sell my house for that much less because I'd be losing money, this concept of losing money. And so a lot of people at the moment are buying, but they're choosing to not sell their own house and wait until they perceive the market will be able to be picked up.
Or they just see that place as a nest egg and think, if I can afford to buy another property and rent it out, then that's great, because, you know, who knows where we should be putting our money, and property in the long run may well be
absolutely, and ultimately there is a security about renting somewhere. Now, the only thing is that a lot of these people are very, very ill prepared. I'd say one thing, and that is that you need to make sure, if you are going to rent somewhere out, that it's a long-term 10-year plan, because interest rates won't stay at 0.5%. I think a lot of people think that they will.
Right. Yeah. What are the main mistakes people make then?
Well, the main mistakes people make is they don't get any tenancy agreements, they don't get their gas safety certificates, they don't get their energy performance certificates, they don't know all the legal requirements that you need, they're unaware of all the implications involved, and they also don't entirely understand the process of the fact that you are responsible for taking the rent in. If you can either use an agent or you can do it yourself, but if you do it yourself, obviously it costs you less money, but there is a process that you have to go through.
On balance, and I wouldn't want you to sort of say either way particularly, but does the letting agent then deal with all of that on your behalf? Would they come to you and say, you need this, this and this, so actually you've got somewhere to go if you aren't that certain about what to do?
Yes, that's the reality, but of course they take a fee for that, so which is, you know, fair enough, but if you want to save the fee, and the agent will...
So where do you go if you don't want to go to a letting agent?
Well, there is Gumtree have got a piece of advice on their site, so that they've got so that you can find out what to do on there.
There are tax implications as well, aren't there, which people tend to forget about too?
Well, that is a major thing that people forget about, because it is income, and ultimately income is taxable. So all your income, the income you earn at work is taxable, but income you get from a property is also taxable. So you have to bear that in mind.
Make sure you declare on that. And what happens if you don't have the right safety certificates and things? I mean, how will you get found out?
Well, ultimately, when things go wrong, that's the problem, and it's very messy. So you need to make sure that you do have them.
You can end up with a tenant who you might want to leave and who won't, and then you...
Yeah, well, if you don't have a tenant... I mean, the tenancy agreement is as much to protect you as the tenant, ultimately.
Yeah.
So you need to make sure that you're both protected. And certainly, I would really recommend no one takes rent without a tenancy agreement, because it's actually you that's in sort of deep water legally.
Yeah.
Okay.
All
Sarah,
right.
thank you very much.
Words to the wise. Thank you very much indeed. Now, if your children take a packed lunch to school, who has the final say over what goes in that little plastic box? Is it you, your children, or their head teacher?
Well, children at one school in North London have been told that chocolate and other unhealthy food will be confiscated and handed back at the end of the day. We spoke to one mum who says she can't fault the school academically, but it should be up to parents to decide what their children eat.
Maria, would you come and help me do lunch, please? We prepare the lunch boxes together with the children in the evening when they come back from school, because in the morning it's just run of our feet. Either they have pasta salad or a sandwich or pita, mixed pita, bread or anything as a main meal. There's always a squash drink or water, whichever they like that day. A piece of fruit, sometimes a piece of cheese, sometimes a sweet, a miniature Smarties box or a Milky Way bar. If you don't want your children to eat any sweets whatsoever, then that's down to you.
I think my parents should decide what I eat, not the school, because I don't think it's really fair. It's like telling you what socks to wear or something.
Judy Hargaden is Chief Executive of the School Food Trust. She's here with primary head teacher Tim Benson. Good morning, both.
Morning.
Well, Tim, let's start with you then. Does your school operate this sort of policy?
We have got a healthy school status. We've been working very hard with our parents for 2 or 3 years now, getting them used to the idea of having good, nutritional food to eat each day. But we've not said thou shalt not, because I think that can tend to cause conflict, as it has in this case. And I think persuasion is perhaps a better tool than diktat.
Judy, where would you draw the line? I mean, if a child brings in one chocolate digestive, should it be taken away and given back at the end of the day?
Well, schools now have to follow pretty tough rules on what they can serve children and what they can't, and many schools are saying for the children who bring in packed lunch, we should have a level playing field with what the school are allowed to serve. And actually schools are not allowed to serve chocolate bars or crisps or you know, some of the things that are not good for us anymore. It's a good policy for a packed lunch to say the same thing. It seems to me that this school have been quite good in the way they've alerted parents to the fact they're doing it. They take it out and give it back at the end of the day. And of course the real goal is for children to eat a good hot lunch, a meal at school every day, and I think we probably both agree on that.
Yeah, although we've had a lot of emails saying, well, it's all very well confiscating. Some people saying, yes, my school operates the same policy, and yes, on a Friday they'll be selling lollies and ice cream. So you're saying they shouldn't actually, the school's breaking its own policy there then?
No, schools, the rules stop you selling chocolate bars, confectionery style bars and things. An ice lolly made from fresh fruit juice is actually a fine thing to sell. So if they make their own ice lollies and sell them like that...
Oh, I think she was saying these had lots of E numbers in, but okay,
oh, right.
So all right.
Tim, to what extent does the food and the drink that children take in at lunchtime affect their behaviour? Do you really notice the difference?
It can, and it's on an individual basis, and I think that's probably the difficulty with a policy that is for all children. Because if you notice as a head teacher that a particular child's behaviour is rapidly deteriorating in the afternoon, one of the things you would look at is the diet that that child is having. And if you notice in their packed lunchbox that they're having a can of Coke or a chocolate bar, then of course you would want to talk to those parents.
So your teachers would look in the packed lunch maybe in that circumstance then, would they?
In terms in the dining hall, we monitor. Obviously some children in a deprived area like mine do not have enough nutritional value,
so
and they have just a piece of bread perhaps for lunch.
Really?
So we'd want to talk to those parents about that.
And how do they typically respond then when you...
Well, in a subtle way, and presenting it in a way of actually supporting them and supporting their child, they accept it and accept your wisdom.
Perhaps it doesn't come down so much as to a question of diet as principle, Judy, in the sense that should schools have the right to dig into the lunchbox and take things away?
I think schools don't have the right to go in and search, but I think what you'll find, for example, if you have a mobile phone policy and you take your mobile phone out in school in the middle of the day when you're not supposed to, one of the teachers can see you and say, hey, you shouldn't be doing that. And schools have policies because they want cultural norms and they're teaching children for life. And food skills are a really important part of their life skills. So I don't think you'll find they're digging in and searching. But if a child is eating a chocolate bar and in front of others and the school has a policy that actually we don't do that at lunchtime here, then I think it's very reasonable. And in fact, I would expect a school to be caring about my children's health and helping me and my children get healthy.
So in the long run then, do you see this becoming more widespread and actually it will just become the norm?
Well, I think what we'd love to be the norm, and we both agree on this, is children eating a good lunch at school that the school provides every day, and that way they get variety, they get nutrition because of the new rules. We'd like children to learn to cook better. We'd like it to become less of an issue that people even think it's a good idea to put these kind of things in packed lunches.
One parent's written in saying their son used to always come home and complain that he was the only one who didn't get sweets and crisps in his lunchbox, although the school recommended against it. Now, at 7, he knows about healthy eating, and he's really excited when he gets a little treat on a Friday.
But the other point, though, is that if the food's just being confiscated, so if my Mars bar is being confiscated and given to me at the end of the day, I'm probably going to go home and just eat it. So it's kind of a little bit, as you say, you really need to address the root cause here rather than just taking away it during school time.
That's right. It's educating the parents and the children so that they both take that responsible decision themselves. Because, yes, the child will go home with a chocolate bar and they'll eat that one and another one probably when they get indoors as well.
Yes, I suppose there is that as well. I mean, do you think it's just going to blow over after a while? Because you remember we had the episode where at one school the parents were feeding fish and chips through the bars of the school. You don't want to see that happening on a wider basis in terms of chocolate bars or that sort of thing?
I think we're on a long journey here. Schools have been working on this for a number of years. Lunches are getting much better. There's less need to take a packed lunch now. A gradual policy of changing, and this school looks like it implemented
But are
a
we seeing,
sensible policy.
from all
on
this healthy eating, are we seeing better results?
The best thing we ever did was introduce a salad bar at our school, rather like in Pizza Hut, where the children can go and help themselves. And it was just putting that element of choice into children. It was good, healthy stuff, but they had the choice to do it. And that's been really, really popular and changed children's perceptions of school dinners at my school.
Yeah, that's good to know. Well, thank you both very much for coming in, sharing your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. And coming up later, the BBC News Channel has the latest news from home and abroad.
Here on Breakfast.